Welcome back to Made to Grow, the podcast custom made for SME manufacturers, brought to you by Flowlens. Today we're thrilled to have Oliver Caunt, Managing Director of JCS Nuclear Solutions, join us as our guest. JCS has a fascinating backstory, starting as a family business founded way back in 1975 and evolving into a leader in nuclear radiation sensing and shielding solutions across sectors like defence, research and medicine. Oliver takes us through this transformative journey, moving from old-school manufacturing systems to cutting-edge cloud-based tools. He shares the pivotal moments, the hurdles they overcame, and a few of the surprises they discovered along the way. Join us as we uncover the practical steps and missteps JCS took to transform their operations, from data cleansing to system integration, and how these changes saved them both time and resources. If you're a manufacturer eyeing a digital upgrade, this episode is brimming with valuable insights. Ready to get inspired? Let's dive in. So, welcome Oliver Caunt from JCS Nuclear Solutions to the Made to Grow podcast.
Hello, it's good to be here. Thanks for inviting me along.
Brilliant. I really appreciate you taking the time today, Ollie, to sort of share your story of digital transformation and the JCS journey in general. But could you give the listeners a bit of an intro to yourself and the business?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Oliver Caunt. I'm Managing Director of JCS Nuclear Solutions. We're a specialist SME who provides nuclear radiation sensing and shielding solutions to a variety of sectors, including nuclear, defence, research and medical, to name a few. We're a family business started by John Caunt in 1975, who began by selling specialist radiation detectors, and that evolved into incorporating detectors and sensors into our own instrumentation. We're now split into three main product areas, being the resale of radiation detectors still, manufacture and sale of our own instrumentation, and providing specialist neutron shielding materials. We remain small. We're a small and agile team, very much enhanced by a wide network of partners and collaborators who help us compete and hold our own against large organizations who dominate the sectors that we work in. So, we like solving niche problems and picking up the projects that the larger organizations tend to overcharge for or tend to not want to go near, basically. So, so we occupy a niche area in our sector.
Brilliant. It was good to be sort of narrow and deep niche. You know, that specialism. It's a
very true.
Yeah, great a moat around the business. I can't remember which business book talks about moats, but it might even be Warren Buffett. I think he likes to invest in businesses that have a good moat. So it sounds like JCS.
I have to give him a call.
He's on the lookout. Yeah, he's had a few tough investments recently.
Yeah, it seems so.
So, in terms of the obviously the business has been around for a long time and has evolved as you've described, and from a systems point of view, probably those systems evolved around the needs at the time. But whenever we first met, you were looking to move away from Sage, and you had an array of spreadsheets that we were running the business. But what was the motivator at the time? It was about three years ago, sort of mid-COVID, to take the plunge into more modern and joined up tools?
Yeah, I think we've always been pretty good at adopting new systems and technologies within the business. I think way back in the early 2000s, we were running a VPN to allow people to work from home and be a bit agile and stuff like that too. So, but the fundamental core and function of the business was our sales and finance platform, which is Sage, coupled with a sort of real complicated product range, buying and selling overseas with all the distributed cost centers, and then products taking a long time to make. So we've had lots of stock and work in progress challenges, job costing, cash flow forecasting. All of this effectively meant that we needed a lot of information, which we managed in spreadsheets, which were all taking data from Sage. So Sage is really, really good at what it does, but we kind of identified that we weren't using it for its full potential without considerable investment from custom add-ons, making it clunky, and expensive. So spreadsheets, and I think this is quite normal in the small business world, that spreadsheets become the natural alternative to investing in bespoke software and that kind of stuff, basically. So we could naturally use spreadsheets to sort of create the data and manage the data, for our own thing. So the motivator really to embrace digital tools came from a discussion with our within the team, talking about our CRM system, which was ACT back in the days, which used to be part of Sage, and then they split from Sage, and then the ACT system stopped working with Sage completely. And again, we were talking to other providers who could, effectively charge us to make a bolt-on, so we could have a bolt-on talking the CRM side, talking to the sales side of stuff, basically. All became very clunky and, full of risk. So in those conversations, it was our bookkeeper in the business, our finance manager, who said, you do realize that our Sage system is also full to brim, and it's, bursting at the seams, and maybe we should look at this. And it was a really good conversation. So we evolved from actually looking at what CRMs we could use alongside Sage to actually, should we be looking at our finance system to start with? And we have an external accountant, Horsfield and Smith, who do our management accounts. Had a conversation with them about what we should do, and they came in and actually ended up conducting a study into our entire processes, what we do, and that eventually came out and said effectively we're using Sage data to generate, it was about 13 different spreadsheets that one or two people in the business were touching every day. So there's risk when more than one people are using stuff on networks which are distributed around the country as well. So that was a problem. But also those spreadsheets, a lot of them were actually using exactly the same data, just presented in a different way, whether that's like job costing or cost of sales, cash flow forecasting, all using the same sort of information or exactly the same information in some cases. So that was very telling. And, the study came to, the conclusion that, we've got to move on to a more modern cloud-based piece of software. So that was Xero that we moved to. So we started planning that, and then that opened the opportunity to say, okay, with cloud, with cloud software, what are the options for bringing in a CRM system? And we found quite a few, and we trialed two systems, Flowlens and another, and ended up choosing Flowlens. So it was kind of, the motivator was systems falling apart, or becoming very slow and clunky, fraught with risk, potential cost, and then actually we should start modernizing, basically. So that was it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So from that point forward, how would you describe the stages of adoption in the company, particularly that those 13 spreadsheets probably felt like part of the furniture and very familiar to everyone, so that initial change, I'm sure, was a bit of a challenge, particularly if you're going to move away from Sage to Xero as well.
Yeah, it really was. Like I said, we've been pretty technically savvy in the business. We're only, 4 people operational, so we're a small business, so we're agile, and that helps, I think, in this case. So we haven't got lots and lots of departments who might have some opposition to, to change and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So we talked quite a lot amongst, the team, and said, what do we need to do in terms of moving the stuff across? What are the risks? All that kind of stuff, basically. Because of these sectors that we're in, we've got a very robust ISO 9000 sort of quality management system, and a very, very good document control already. So our kind of like online or server-based structures are very good. So we had confidence in that we have data, all our backups are, second to none, all that kind of stuff, basically. So, so effectively we chose 2 platforms and we trialed them both, and eventually chose Flowlens. It fitted us as our organization a lot better, basically. So the stages were really, engaging with the team, talking about what we need to do. engaging with our accountants, Horsfield and Smith. They were taking control of the moving the financial data from Sage to Zero, and that was the first bit. What do we have to do for that first? And that was effectively doing an enormous data cleanse. Our records date back to effectively like the mid 80s, and said, okay, so we only need 3 years of active data to sit in Zero. Everything else can sit in archive. So we started cleansing that, and then also doing a fundamental cleanse of our customer suppliers and contacts within, basically. Then a fundamental cleanse of all of our products, because we've got a lot of very complex sort of products that have got complex bills of material, and a lot of legacy stuff that's just been sat there because we've had no real driver to clean the data. So that was our biggest challenge, was to sit and spend time doing that, and we divvied out the work between us all. And someone took over the customer database, someone took over the products, someone took over the suppliers, all that kind of stuff, basically. That was the biggest chunk of work that we had to do, but that was it was fundamental for actually helping then migrate data across.
I mean, I was going to pick up on that, because the cleaner the data that goes into any new system, the better starting point. If you migrate old data that's never mind that it's not relevant any longer, it just gets in the way, and it potentially causes confusion, and there's just so many downsides to having data that's uncleansed and unnecessary when you move forward. And did that get in the way of the day job? Was that, you said it was a big undertaking?
It didn't really. I think we were quite lucky that we were doing this in COVID, so the phones weren't ringing so much, and we kind of approached this kind of right at the end of the first kind of lockdown period, basically. So it was kind of like September when things opened up again. So we didn't have a huge order book to be kind of fulfilling, if that makes sense. So so we had time, and we used this time really wisely to actually kind of do all of this work, basically. So it didn't really affect the day job. I think because we planned it so well with the accountants that we did a migration of the financial data, and we could see that side by side. We were using Sage as effectively as our, well, it wasn't really a CRM, but our database with all our customers and suppliers in, basically. But that didn't have any of the contacts for each customer and supplier. It was just company data, basically. So so we moved all that across. So the Zero data was good, and we could compare it side by side. So we started with just order processing to start with, and then when we brought in Flowlens, Horsfield and Smith had already done quite a lot of work with you guys in terms of learning how to integrate between the two, so that was fine. So we were confident that was okay. So the next bit for the team was to then bring all of our kind of like our CRM side of stuff into Flowlens, and then we did a lot of. I think we had almost a month's, maybe a bit more, of just having a trial space where we could actually, like a sandbox, I think you call it, where we did a lot of experimenting and just trying to break the system. We had a lot of support from you guys, which is fantastic. That helped a lot, just to help build confidence, and then chuck as many scenarios as we could in terms of, what happens if you need to return a product or unpick a bill of materials, if you have to kind of like then do a service, all that kind of stuff. It's so we had time in that respect, while we were still running the old system. And once we were happy with the data that we had in Zero and the data that we had in Flowlens, we actually were bold and made the decision. So this is going to be the date that we do the cutoff, and we just do the actual go live. And it kind of worked all right, but not without a huge amount of planning.
Yeah. I think this is one of the chicken and egg problems for companies, of your size and larger, where the desire is there and the promised land. You can see how things can be better and different with that effort, but it isn't an easy thing to say and push the button on. Right, we're going to subject ourselves to this, but with the right plan, and you broke it down well there in terms of those elements. So get the finance piece moved over, validate that's the numbers all line up, and then take the kind of business process chunk by chunk rather than trying to do it all in one go.
We're still implement it. We're still actually starting to, use Flowlens in better ways than when we did the migration. So we're still chunking it, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So, we're now focusing more on getting our service module, if equipment's sent back for repair or if it's damaged or something's gone wrong. We've always used to treat that in the kind of the normal quote sales order sort of like function, but the service module in Flowlens, we're really starting to get to grips with, which is good. So yeah, so you don't have to do it all at once as well. I think, so we're 3 years into Flowlens now and only really starting to say, right, we'll start doing this properly now. But with the confidence that the system sort of delivers, basically.
I
So yeah, yeah.
I think it's that confidence is the key word, because particularly the evangelist in the business might have that belief, but everyone else has to come along, and everyone will be come along at different speeds.
Yeah.
But once you've kind of got level one confidence, everyone's on the same page, they understand what the system can do, and then you can explore other bottlenecks or other opportunities for improvement. So yeah, so it's interesting, like thinking back to the question, those sort of stages of digital adoption, that it's not something you start and finish. It's an evolving.
It evolves and progresses and enhances, and and it does change how you perceive your information. I think at the beginning of all of this that and again, I suspect this is very typical of not just small businesses, but any business, but we all think that we're unique, and we all think that the information that we have is very unique and stuff. So we become, like you said, almost protective of your spreadsheets and protective of your information, because that's how it's always been done and things. So it's the other thing that we found is that the more you can standardize your information, the easier it is to migrate and adopt. And then actually you have a system that's a lot more standard for new startups in the business or people that join the business. It's a lot easier for them to get to grips with, because it's becoming more of a common language than something that's very complex as well. So the evangelist is a good point. You will always have one or two, I suppose, and then their job is to really sell and infuse the benefits to the rest of the team as well. So so it is a collaborative team effort, definitely.
The Made to Grow podcast is brought to you by Flowlens, the simple, affordable MRP system specifically designed for SME device, equipment and machinery manufacturers. Our top-rated cloud-based software can help you cut down on wasted materials, time and money, and eliminate the chaos of running your manufacturing with spreadsheets and hope. Our customers have reported savings of over a day per week per person in their business, by cutting out needless admin, duplication of work and countless mistakes. Plus, lead times are shortened by up to 75%. And after hundreds of successful implementations, we've got the blueprint for manufacturing success nailed down. Head over to flowlens.com for a quick video tour of the software and to hear from more manufacturers like you who have transformed their businesses with Flowlens. Now, back to the interview. You maybe touched on this, just with that point, even about onboarding new recruits and whatnot, and that's standardization, and simplifying things. But what other unexpected opportunities have presented themselves as a consequence of having that?
I think there's internal in the business. It's just access to real-time information is the game changer. Having dashboards, and we all have our own dashboards in Flowlens that suit our own roles. So someone who's in charge of sort of doing the purchase orders and suppliers, that their dashboards will just be saying, okay, what's due in the next 3 or 4 weeks, who's late. You can have a dashboard for a particular supplier that might be problematic. So I've got one person doing that. My dashboards are more about the kind of like what the order book looks like, what the invoice book looks like, all that kind of stuff basically is a fundamental game changer, because we're not having to scratch our heads and say, right, we must run a report or ask bookkeeper to run a report or something like that. We have the information there, so we're a lot more informed the whole time. So that's in terms of an unexpected opportunity. It's more we're spending less time trying to figure out where we are with the state and the health of the business, because the information's there and live, which is, that firstly is fantastic. The other side of stuff is how we are presenting to our customers. Because of the nature of what we do, we're audited quite a lot, and we've had a recent case where we've had a major defence contractor come in. We're doing a couple of big work packages for them at the moment, and they want to elevate us to the next grade of supplier within the business, because there's other work packages that they want us to get involved with, but we're not qualified at the moment. So we had this 4-day audit where they came in and actually really picked apart everything from our sort of like ISO 9000, so our quality management systems, all the way to how we do all our communication, sales order processing. And they were really impressed with how we're managing as a small team, managing contracts the size that we're working on, because of our systems like Flowlens. So we're really proud to show our customers this kind of stuff, and also other stakeholders, like the ISO audits and all that sort of stuff. So it's actually becoming a sales tool. We can prove that we can be agile, and we can be very we can react very quickly and respond to situations very quickly, but we can also plan very well now. So definitely internally, we're a lot slicker, a lot faster, we're a lot more informed. And then, externally, we're really proud to show our customers, the systems that we're using.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. Yeah. I mean, people don't necessarily see an investment in technology as ultimately a sales enhancement.
Yeah.
They think, well, this will help us manage our invoices or our stock or whatever, but actually taking in the operational effectiveness and excellence that it potentially offers. I mean, it still needs the right team driving it. A good system is only as good as the people using it.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's a fantastic
it's all part of that sort of continuous improvement side of stuff, basically. So what are you doing? How can you do things better, basically? And you can't do that without a decent platform that everybody's comfortable using, but also you can't plan things without that information. So there's your internal drivers and your external pulls as well, basically. Mm-hmm. So
and you've mentioned the sort of remote working piece. How has that? Just starting that question again. Some people have kind of concerns about remote working. We see Jim Ratcliffe pulling everyone back into Man United. Just because there are fewer emails sent on a Friday or something. It's slightly spurious. But and we work remotely most of the time ourselves. How have you found, from sort of an accountability standpoint or collaboration, do these systems make things better? Do they bridge some of those sort of human gaps that you miss whenever you're not in the office together?
They're definitely very useful. So I would say half the team are kind of office based the whole time, and then we have a team member down in London. To all intents and purposes, we have a different office down there, and then I'm out on the road a huge amount, basically. So it's so the systems that we have really help us communicate. We've got an internal kind of intranet type system as well, which is fantastic. We use it for project management and other things, and that's kind of our daily drumbeat. There's always conversations going on, and we use that very, very effectively. So we all get a sense from each other what's going on the whole time. It's like a message board, and it's a really good communications tool. So definitely yes. So using online cloud systems has been a real game changer, definitely since COVID. Because we kind of implemented that, started trialing it, and now it's part of the everyday norm, which is great. We do encourage, and if people want to kind of work remotely, and it works, for the daily operations, that's something that we will always encourage and support as well, of course, because we have systems now that can help us with that, basically. And so that's definitely one thing. And then just having cloud systems where you're not having to cope with VPNing onto servers and things dropping off and all that kind of stuff is a game changer in terms of being out on the road. I was at a conference with you not so long ago where I was actually having to respond to a customer needed a quote really quickly, and I had all the details with me and all that kind of stuff, and it was really easy just to open up a laptop and just sort it all out and get it sorted right there and then, basically. So yeah, it is. Yeah, it just helps us be a lot more agile and have all the information that you need at your fingertips, out on the road or working from home or wherever you are. It's great.
Hmm. So, in terms of the next stage of the journey, I mean, clearly, whenever you're having those conversations about moving up the next tier of supplier status with
Yeah.
big contractors, these are significant achievements and plenty to chew on probably for the next
Mm,
5 years by the sounds of things. But
yeah.
now you kind of seen what's possible and how, as you said earlier, those sort of sales opportunities are being driven. What's next on your journey as far as the digitization is concerned?
Yeah, I think it's now coming to the realization that we're generating a lot of data now. That we have our forecasts and we use our pipelines, and at the end of the year, we've got very quick access to who our best customers have been, who our kind of worst customers have been, who our best suppliers and late suppliers, all that kind of stuff, and that's kind of an everyday metric now. But it's stuff that we do look at, and it's also part of our kind of quality management system that we review every year and all the rest of it. But just realizing and having got that we've got this information, we should be doing a lot more with it. And I think there are tools now that we can start using to actually look for more longer term trends, and so we can better plan, which would help us kind of buy better. It would help us actually plan with our customers a lot more, all that sort of stuff. So it's all information that's there. We don't use it enough, and I'm very aware that we don't use it enough, but we could actually start doing a lot more kind of trend mapping, basically, with the information. So I know that we've just signed up to work with you guys, and the Smart Manufacturing Data Hub, which I'm looking forward to, just to learning, what the art of the possible is moving forward.
Hmm.
I think data is going to be a huge driver in the next kind of generation of business in terms of understanding you know trends, and where you need to actually decide we're going in this direction or that direction, or we're going to drop a particular product. We've got products that we feel very close to and dear to, but if we really drilled into the data, we'll probably realize that they're an anchor for us rather than
Hmm.
anything else. And it's that sort of stuff that, yeah. So using information to make more rational decisions, to help the business grow and thrive.
Cool. Yeah. On the Smart Manufacturing Data Hub is an interesting opportunity because,
Yeah.
as you said, it allows that extra pair of eyes, looking at anonymized data. It should be said,
Yes.
but giving giving you some more insights and ideas as to what is possible. And the project that we're working on with Smart Manufacturing Data Hub and customers like yourselves, allows us to see across the group the kind of insights that are coming out of this. So we're quite excited about what we'll learn as well. So um, yeah, watch this space. I think the
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
even just comparing again anonymously, but where you rank in terms of performance and some of the key or
Mm.
operational metrics,
Yeah.
can be illuminating. So listeners are welcome to get in touch if they are interested in getting involved. We still have a couple of spaces left on the project. Um, so I think, I mean, it's been a brilliant conversation,
Mm.
Ollie. The one of the things that strikes me about, particularly about that supplier story, the expectations are, growing and growing. Um, that large customers or potential customers will get used to this sort of capability that
Yeah.
agile businesses like JCS can offer, and so there's a real competitive advantage there. But it's for many companies who are worried about that hump we talked about at the
Mm.
start. There is work involved, but the payoff is not just, yes, we can send invoices quicker or get paid quicker. It's actually we can put ourselves onto a whole new footing,
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is really illuminating.
Yeah.
So, were you going to say something?
Yeah, and it saves days of time in a week. It's amazing. So that's definitely one of the other unexpected opportunity or outcome is just how much time we've saved not crunching spreadsheets. I would say at least a day a week for one of my members of the team, and for me, I'd spend a whole Friday afternoon crunching numbers just to have a look at what the month sales figures have been like. I don't have to do that anymore at all. It's fantastic. Yeah, it does save time.
So, at the end of each episode, I like to ask my guest to sort of leave the listeners with one piece of advice. And in your case, what piece of advice would you give other manufacturers sort of contemplating the digital journey?
Map out your processes. I'm giving you three. Get everybody on board and excited about it. So that's an internal sales job. It's pretty easy to do if you can show people benefits. So engage with who you think you want to work with, and they can help you with that. Map your processes from the start to the beginning, almost from the end, from your invoice all the way through, basically. And the same for your kind of like, your supply chain and how you pay your purchase invoices. Map that out, just a big piece of paper all the way through, map it out, what you need to do. And then, there's your kind of your workflow. And then cleanse your data. And the biggest job is cleansing your data, but you will be rewarded for it in a massive way because you've suddenly got an opportunity to kind of refresh, look at how you code your products, look at how you build your bills of material, getting rid of all the old junk in your system. With those three elements, it does set you up for a kind of a painless transfer into your digital journey.
Brilliant. I couldn't agree more. Well, thanks again, Ollie. I really appreciate your time. It's been fascinating hearing and refreshing on the story, and I'm absolutely blown away by the progress you've made and those new opportunities that are coming through. Yeah. So congratulations and thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to Flowlens. It's been fantastic. So yeah,
pleasure.
Cheers. Yeah, take care. Thank you.
Thanks again to Oliver for sharing the remarkable digital transformation journey of JCS Nuclear Solutions. It's inspiring to hear how a small, agile team can leverage modern technology to take on the might of large competitors and succeed. As we wrap up, remember that mapping your processes and cleansing your data is the foundation for a successful digital transformation. As Oliver's story will attest, these vital first steps not only improve efficiency, but also open up new opportunities for innovation and growth. We'll be taking a short break over the summer, so there won't be an episode of Made to Grow in August. But don't worry, we'll be back in September with more insightful conversations in the world of SME manufacturing. If you find this episode useful, please subscribe and leave a review on your podcast app of choice, and we'll see you in September.